And today's video is brought to you by...
What's up guys, welcome back to the FE32 presented by Fiberglass. Today we're going to go over how to build multi-piece molds, and we got two new projects.
What is a multi-piece mold, and what is the reasoning on why you chose this method?
So multi-piece mold is any single part you make off of a mold that comes in multiple pieces. It'd be like a multi-piece mold. And the reason that we're doing it, one is because this is too big to fit in the oven all by itself. And then two is if we made a mold of this shape, even if it was small enough, or we had an oven large enough, it would be mechanically locked in here, because you can imagine if this is molded and then this is also molded, we couldn't slide it forward because of the back of the window, and then we also couldn't slide it up because of this lip. So you wouldn't be able to physically take the part out of the mold after you made it. So what you do is you make flange lines where you connect multiple pieces. So I actually ended up doing this body in, I think it's gonna be 13 separate pieces. And you saw us make the first piece. So what we did this past week was make 3 more of the 13 pieces. The first one we're gonna have to redo like we went over in the last episode. But we followed the exact same steps, waxed, PVA'd, and then laid the high temp gray surface coat, and then followed that up with carbon fiber, 4 layers with the System 3000 epoxy, and then we're going to have to do the post-cure bake and all that stuff like that. Okay, so we started off by making these 2 rear quarter pieces, the lower sections. And the reason that we separated it in this way is when we're making this rear piece right here, this little bump out right here in the body that flows all the way from the front nose all the way back here, since it lips down, we're not gonna be able to pull this rear piece off this way. So what we did was we put a flange line right in the center of that little hump of the body line, and then just ran it to this front, and this was a nice little transition spot to be able to cut it off. So we just ran those 2 sections, make these smaller, easier, more manageable mold pieces. And this way we can actually take this rear piece and pull it off. So after you're done making the flange, well, after you're done laying the first mold that you're gonna be flanging to, you pull the flange material off, that aluminum that we're using, and then you essentially just leave this mold on here, or clamp it back on if you've already taken it off, and wax and PVA the rest of it. So what we did was that exactly. We got the two sides done. We waxed and PVA'd the back of this, and then we flanged here in the center of the rear intake, and then right around here as well, because we want to be able to pull this off in this direction to get away from this. Since this curves up, it mechanically stops us from sliding straight back, so we have to slide up a little bit too. So we don't want to get to a point where we're up around here, and this is also a curve. We can't slide up there. So we have to come here and then come straight down. We'll angle down from here. So that's like a lot of the tricky part of making multi-piece molds. If you have a complex shape like this, you want to make sure that there aren't any issues with, one, the part coming out of the mold, and then two, also having the mold pieces be able to come apart and not have the flanges be in the way. So when you're making flanges like this, like these side pieces that we have here, my initial thought was I was going to make these carbon pieces separately. So lay the pre-preg up in them, bake them, have the parts come out nice and shiny and perfect, and then trim the little bit on the flange off. So it's the actual part is just the shape of the actual back section without the flange. And then say we're going to make the two side pieces, and then when we're ready to mold them together, we'll have the side pieces made and the flange cut off as well. We'll butt the two ends of them up together inside the mold. So we'll take both mold sections, drill some holes through them while they're on the body like this, and run some bolts into them so we can lock them together. So line all the molds up, put the actual carbon pieces that you make from the molds in there without the flange ends in there. And then you'd have two pieces of carbon that are pretty much butting up to each other. And then we would hand lay in strips of carbon from the back inside it to connect the two pieces. So when you pull all the mold and stuff like that off after it's dry, it'll have a small little seam down it, but it would have a seam either way because we don't have enough carbon to continually go around there. The issues that we were having with the angle of these flange things that I was talking about in the front end that we made, and trying to get to a point where we don't have anything that's sharper than a 90-degree end on a flange. Like up here, we had to actually go sharper, like to a 45. I guess whatever direction you're looking at that, but it's more pointed. So we started having some issues towards the front there. So I'm actually going to switch up methods now after this, and what we're going to do is make the first part come past where the flange is and finish off back here, and then make the second part come past it in the other direction. So what you can basically do is we're going to overlap them on top of each other, which will throw the geometry of the entire body off by like 3 millimeters every little bit. But there's definitely ways that you can kind of get around that, and if you really need to, you could lay them on top of each other and then cut straight through them, and then you'd have the exact same butt-to-butt seam joint from the back like I was talking about. The only thing that direction helps is getting the mold more accurate with a lot of these sharper corners that we have to actually mold into, because then we don't have to worry about the 90-degree thing. We're just going to actually continue the mold onto the rest of it. So we've gotten this section, the back third of the car, done. We're going to continue on to the roof next. I don't want to do the front end again yet. I'll leave that for last since the first one got ruined. But we're going to do, like I was saying, we're going to do the front end in 3 separate molds now. So the next step here is going to be to flange the center down the roof and up towards the front. And then we're going to do these two sides separately, because what these sides will do is they'll slide off to the side like this. But instead of flanging it up against this one, I'm actually going to run this mold a little bit past here and just let the flange be the actual shape of the body. So this part will end up coming over top of this part, or vice versa, and then we'll end up chopping it, and it'll all match up.
You got push on the clutch or no?
Just turn it to park. That's already on park. So like I said, we got 2 project cars. One's mine and one is Greg's, and mine is another 2002.
What made you decide to get this?
Well, my wife and I were sharing the X5 for a while, and car prices right now are crazy. So instead of buying a brand new car or a used car for the price of a brand new car, figured I'll give her the X5 and I'll drive something that's derelict and needs a little bit of love. So I got this thing for a steal. It was local and it runs terrific.
And I'm like, oh man, how much would this rust be to fix? I don't know.
And it's got like the perfect interior. So, nearly perfect interior. And I love 2002s.
As we see, what's
Little boxes.
what's the plan for this?
So we're gonna do air suspension again, a ton of body work. It's got rust all over it, dents literally throughout the entire panel, a terrible paint job, a lot of stuff on the outside. Rebuilt some wheels, metal flares, I think. We're gonna weld on our own flares and a bunch of other stuff, but we'll go into an actual build series on this. But first we gotta get Connie done. Connie is probably gonna be done in the next 2 or 3 weeks, so that's great. And then, you know, right after Connie's gonna be done, we're gonna have our meet again, June 11th. Come down, see the 2002, of course, in all its glory. But also see both Z's. Connie might still be here depending on when Dave picks it up. See the Ford, see the 350Z, S2000, see us. Come hang with us, get some food,
Merch.
all the good stuff. But yeah, so more on this later, but let's go check out what Greg's got going on.
What you looking at?
Same exact 2002 that I just bought for $7 grand. But clean. Just bid up to 20. Good investment.
Is it like all original or?
No, it doesn't even say all original. It has a 4-speed transmission and a 4-cylinder. Okay.
Where's your car? We're coming up on her. She looks kind of like that.
Oh shit.
Look at that.
Turd.
That's my legacy right there.
Behind his legacy.
Is that was it no pun intended with that one?
No
or?
pun intended. It's got some good rust there.
Wait, brush a wall?
No. Yeah, Jersey wall.
Cool.
That's what she ran into. With a wheel. Bumper. Yeah, look at. I don't have the key,
Oh damn.
but manual. Let me get to the best part.
It looks like it's
Before we-
sparking.
Before we reveal the best part, what should we brace ourselves for?
A bent rail. 2 bent rails.
2?
I think that one's over a little bit. That one's over more than that one. Easy day. She's a little confused. She's like, what happened?
Well, Greg's gonna do a series on flipping cars, and
This is gonna be the beginning of my legacy.
the start of his legacy.
My dad keeps calling Subarus Zubarus. I think it's a Spanish thing because
That's what we got called.
it says
Like that Subaru brat. Oh, but the best part. Well, I guess first the plan. I bought this for $1,500. I'd like to sell it for like at least 45, maybe 5, depending on how much I do to it. My plan is to sell it and then buy a wrecked car that is probably around 4 to 5 grand, and then fix that up. Hopefully sell that for like 8 to 10 grand, and then keep moving up. And I might just stop at a JZX.
What?
Get me a chaser. I don't know.
Yeah,
For 1,500 bucks.
yeah, be like,
No.
Yeah,
Chaser.
get
Once
something.
I'll get a chaser for like 25.
Yeah, but starting with 50.
Starting with 1,500 bucks. I'm gonna fix a bunch of cars and trade up. Eventually,
you
hopefully
don't want to
getting
do
a
nothing
chaser.
crazy though.
I could go crazier than that. We'll see how.
We
it
don't have to
goes,
go crazier.
though. That's just like
That's
my
a good
dream
milestone
car.
to. No, that's a good milestone
because
to get to quickly too.
I would
on
like
top
to
of that.
have like a sports car that I can also drive daily. That's comfortable and like Toyota. 1JZ. Already got one of those. Oh. I also bought a trailer.
Hey, I got some street bandito right here, boy.
Alright, part time. Yeah, I bought it to go to drift events and not be ignorant and street drive my car like 3 hours and then crash it and then have to tow my shit home. And then it just happened to work out that I bought it Friday, then we got the 2002 Saturday
morning.
and I got the
Subaru.
Subaru yesterday, Tuesday.
the Subaru.
So
So you're gonna call it Subaru. I'm gonna call it Zubaru. And
I
it's
did
Greg's
get my
legacy.
brake controller today too. We get some nice B-roll of the trailer. B-roll of the
This one's got moss in the back of it too.
my
For real?
legacy.
Dude, what's up with that? These things really. I guess we're playing seesaw.
It's a tater totter.
Well, I guess brats are prone to growing moss in the bed.